Hey guys, you're listening to Justice League Dimension Leap, Act 1. Here comes the bride. Oliver and Diana waltzed into the reception area and were greeted by thunderous applause. Hundreds of superheroes had shown up to the momentous occasion. Robin and Batgirl, Lois and Superman, Huntress and Question, and a whole host of others. Diana's mermaid-styled wedding dress had an open front that revealed white fishnet tights, her trademark. Oliver wore a black tuxedo and a dark green bow tie. At long last, the most anticipated event in superhero history could finally take place. Within a few hours, photos were taken, cake was eaten, and dancing commenced. Oliver and Diana swirled around the dance floor, followed by several other couples. Shira Hall and Jon Stewart had recently reconciled after a long separation. It was like they'd never been apart. Even Batman had paired off. Yes, it would seem that even the Dark Knight was capable of being swept off his feet by none other than the seductive Selina Kyle. And that left Diana to herself. Diana was not one to feel sorry for herself. She was happy to see how many of her friends were enjoying the festivities and of course was pleased at their latest victory against the last round of villainy. However, it was an irony that though she outshone all of the other women at the party, yet she was still the only one sitting down. She watched the dancing continue until it slowed into a slow back and forth. This began jogging buried memories of how she had first learned to dance this way. With Steve Trevor, there was a name she did not often bring up. It was too personal, too distant. Such memories are meant to stay in the past, since their reconstitution often brought up the distinct pain of a severe loss. Diana turned away from the party to stare into the face of the watch that Steve had given her. Despite her desire to suppress these memories, she still often wore the watch in honor of Steve. It wasn't that the watch was so impressive, just that it was his. She almost heard herself sigh when she felt someone standing quietly behind her. Assuming it was Bruce, she did not turn around. Then a familiar, yet foreign voice spoke from behind. "That's a fine watch." Diana whirled around to stare into another face, Steve Trevor himself. Steve Trevor stared down into Diana's stunned face, nervous, unsure, but also seemingly overjoyed. "Diana, I know this is a surprise." Diana's accented voice cut him off. "What? What are you doing here?" Trevor knelt down to the level of the chair, taking her hand in his. "I'm back," he said in a broken whisper. For a moment, Diana seemed stricken. Then suddenly, she seemed to compose herself. Underneath the immediate feelings of shock, confusion, and grief at seeing the face of her long-lost friend was an overriding emotion of rage at the realization that someone was clearly impersonating this sacred memory of hers. And to show up here, of all places, in the midst of her friends. Diana's thoughts rose to a scream, as did her voice. "Back!" she shouted, flinging her arm forward, impacting the side of Trevor's face and sending him sprawling across the floor. "Who are you?" she continued to bellow. "And how dare you impersonate the image of a dead man?" The entire room had been disrupted by this spectacle. Everyone, including the bride and groom, had turned to watch what to them seemed like an entertaining floor show. Everyone except Bruce, who abandoned his date and ran to intervene. "Diana, what's going on?" he yelled as he grabbed her clenched fist in one hand and pointed with the other at the man lying on the floor. "Who is this guy?" "Don't you see?" Diana raged. "He's pretending to be Steve. His face!" Her emotions overcame her, and she trailed off. The party turned all their attention to the man who was allegedly Steve Trevor, who was by now sitting up with his hands raised. "I didn't think you would believe it, Diana. Not at first, anyway. I survived that plane crash. You never found the body, did you? You really have to believe that it's really me."